Hi guys. I know a lot of you probably have some really harsh and negative opinions towards me right now, and I understand why you do. But I'm asking you to please put those opinions aside for a few minutes and listen to everything I have to say. And if by the end of the video you still have the same opinion, then so be it. But at least you will have your opinion based off of the full story and the truth. I've recently come under some fire on social media for mistakes I've made in the past. I used to ask fans for twerking videos. Yes, twerking, the dance move. It's not something that I'm proud of. It's not something that I think is right. And I shouldn't have done it. This really blew up online when a YouTuber and someone that's very popular on social media somehow found this out and decided to blast it out there. I'm not going to say any names because I've come under attack on social media from my name being spread around, and I don't want to put that on anyone else. So throughout this story, I'm not going to say any names. It really blew up online, and sent me down a path that is pretty scary, and I'll go into more detail about this. But first, what I want to do is set the record straight. Since this started online, there are a lot of rumors and a lot of lies. They're just not true. Nothing ever went further than twerking videos. There were never any nudes, never any physical contact. It never happened. So, I just have to get that out there because nothing ever went further. Now, I was on tour at the time that this came out. This was in May, this was early May. I was on the road when this got blasted out there. We were in Boston, it was in the middle of the night, and when this happened, I made the decision to come home from tour. I knew that I couldn't be on the road under this stress, under this pressure, under all of this drama and controversy online. It wasn't something that I could emotionally handle. A lot of people ask, why did the initial statement take so long to get up? I put up a text statement and apology addressing the situation, but it took me about a week to do so. People thought that I was being a coward. People thought that I didn't want to confront the situation. They thought that I was just blowing it off. That's not true. As I said, I was on the road. I was on tour. We were all the way in Boston. So we had to make the drive all the way back from Boston to Chicago. On that drive, the only thing I did was look at my phone and look at all the hate and death threats. I got lost in it. I would read every little comment, every little person telling me to kill myself, every person telling me that life wasn't worth living for me anymore. And I'm a pretty insecure person to where negative comments like that really impact me. It's not something I can just brush off. And that entire ride home, I read those comments and I began researching different suicide methods. I started planning my suicide. It's something I was very, very serious about, and I was determined to do. I finally got home. When we got back, I didn't even step foot in my house. My family took me immediately to the hospital, and I was hospitalized for my suicidal tendencies. They were very worried, and I understand why they were. I had never been hospitalized before for my depression or my past self-harm or my suicidal thoughts. So this was the first time, and maybe I'll open up about it in a separate video, but this was a very, very interesting and emotional experience for me. So, no, I wasn't cowering. I wasn't avoiding the situation. I was in a hospital. I had no internet connection. I had no connection to social media, so I couldn't put out a statement. I wanted to. I wanted to apologize. I wanted to confront it immediately, but I couldn't. As soon as I got out of the hospital, the next day, that's when I put it up. So that's why the initial statement took so long to get out. Now, what I want to do is tell you guys a little bit about my life. I'm not doing this looking for sympathy. I'm not doing this to guilt anybody. I'm not doing this to play the victim card. These aren't excuses for my actions, because I don't believe there are excuses for my actions. What I did was wrong. It's plain and simple, and there's no excuse for it. But the biggest question I get asked is why? Why did this happen? Why did I ask for those things? So in order to figure out why, you have to look at the reasons. And the reasons lie in my past, and in what I've experienced through life, and how I even got to that point. So this is just a little bit about my life. I'm not going to dive too deep into it to keep this video short. I experienced death and loss at a very young age. I had an older sister. She passed away when she was 10 years old. I was 6 years old at the time. Losing a sibling for anybody is tragic, and going through it at such a young age was very difficult for me. And although I barely knew her, I miss her a lot to this day. I really do. I went through a series of funerals when I was very young. Most were distant relatives that I either didn't even know at all, or I had only seen on a few occasions, but I was so young that I really didn't know who they were. But I was going to so many funerals that as a kid I began to associate dress shoes with funerals. It's the only time I dressed up. So that's how much death I was experiencing at such a young age, is that I thought that dress shoes were only worn when people died. My father is another topic I want to dive into. I barely saw my father. My parents divorced at a very, very young age, and the last time I saw him was when I was 8 years old. My father was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and he couldn't get control of his life because of it. And I have a deeper connection with my father. I have two brothers, both of which don't look as much like my dad as I do. I act the most like my dad, so there are some deeper emotional struggles that I have with my father and with the relationship with my father. But the last time I saw him was when I was 8, and he passed away when I was 16. So I didn't see him any other time past when I was 8 years old, and his addictions got the best of him. When I was 16, a few months before he passed away, my family and we went through a house fire. We were away visiting relatives, and somebody broke into our house, stole some things, and burned the entire house down. Now I know it sounds not as bad as it feels, because we lost things. We didn't lose people at that time, but my life was completely uprooted. I lost everything. I lost my entire house.